Am I the a-hole for exposing my ex to his mother about our kids? I, 45 female, am currently divorced from my ex Thomas, 47 male, of 30 years. We ended up seeing a lawyer to help with dividing stuff. Everything was pretty much wrapped up till he said he no longer wanted any part of our kids' lives, 5 male, and 12 female. I didn't argue with him about it since I already know what it's like having a parent who doesn't want you around or wants to be in your life. I asked what he wanted me to tell the kids and he just said whatever you think is best, I don't care. I don't want to parent anymore. Everything was in agreement and signed with no fuss. A few weeks later I get a call from my ex-mother-in-law asking if we could meet each other. When I came over she broke down crying and begging to let my ex see his kids again. I was confused about what she meant because not once did he contact me after meeting the lawyer. She went on about how my ex said he really missed them and that I was just a petty bitch for taking full custody. Also that he was crying for days about it. I told her my version of events and she called it BS, saying her son wouldn't lie like that, especially not about his kids. Then I decided to call him in front of her. He didn't know she and I were meeting that day. I said, hey, 5 male, has a soccer game in a few days, which he did, and I was wondering if you wanted to go. I know he'd really love it and be happy to see you. He instantly said no. I already said I'm not doing this anymore. I raised my voice a bit saying, well, what about holidays and birthdays, because we never discussed any of it and your family might want to see them. He just said my family already thinks the kids aren't mine anyway, so it doesn't matter. I asked, well, how do you think this is going to affect Denise, his mom? She is over the moon about them. He just said she loves me more than the kids, so I doubt this will be an issue for her. After a bit more talking we finally hung up. Ex-mother-in-law was straight-faced and nodded at everything that just happened, saying okay. She asked me to leave and said we would be in touch. Later that day I got a call from my ex saying how it's my fault he was kicked out of his mom's house and possibly will be taken off her will. Also that none of his family members will talk to him because of what ex-mother-in-law heard. He threw a lot of insults at me before I hung up, and now him and his mates keep calling and texting me. My friend is saying I shouldn't have said anything in the first place and I ruined his life. Not the a-hole, he had the right to sign off his rights. He did not have the right to paint you in a bad light and make you look to be at fault and evil/manipulative. That's defamation of character. You had the right to set the record straight. His mom had the right to go no contact with her son, a grown man who didn't want contact with his actual young kids. Sounds like he's getting a taste of his own medicine, aka karma. Am I the a-hole for forcing my husband to sleep on the couch? This conflict is pretty recent. I, female 29, used to use tampons for my periods but due to medical reasons couldn't do it anymore. Now I'm using pads, which isn't that big of a deal, but my husband disagrees. He firstly complained about me not consulting him first, but like I said, it's not a huge deal like BC. He then said he doesn't feel comfortable with me sleeping in bed wearing pads. This threw me off hard because I wasn't expecting him to have an issue on that regard, but he said it just doesn't feel comfortable for him and he would like me to use tampons at night time or sleep somewhere else. I laughed him off and kept sleeping on the bed while wearing my pads like there was no issue. This made him so uncomfortable he basically took the couch, then started complaining about how I forced him on the couch by making him uncomfortable after he already offered me compromises. But I told him he was being a drama queen because his compromises are illogical. I wouldn't stop using pads and free bleed on the bed nor risk my health and use tampons when the doctor advised against them. He's still upset with me even though I'm no longer on my period, saying I owe him for making him uncomfortable and brushing off his complaints. Go buy a new bed. In a new house. With a new husband. Not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for kicking my mom out of my dad's old house after finding out what she's been telling my wife? I'm 33 male, beyond angry about this. Some of my siblings are telling me it was an overreaction while also mad at what she did. I'd really like some thoughts because the house seems divided. My wife Kara and I were friends for years. She was in a very toxic and abusive relationship for 3 years until she had begged us, me and our close friends, to help her get out. It was difficult, but we made it possible. We all pitched in for her to stay as far as possible while she got a restraining order and all that jazz. We each took turns going to visit, then she found out she was pregnant, so I helped out more. Her ex passed from an overdose when my stepson, 7 male, was 4 months old, so since then we all became sort of like uncles/aunts to him. Around that time I knew I developed feelings for her, but we never ever did anything because she had her son and personal issues to process. It didn't feel right at the time. But yes, we did start a relationship 3 years later. She's the one who first admired she's in love with me, so things went from there. We just got married. She's 5 months pregnant with our second child. I will say that yeah, my mom had issues at the start of our relationship because she believed Kara was faking what happened to her just to make me feel sorry for her and take care of them. We went through a period of not talking until she apologized, so we mended things. Somewhat. My mom came to stay at our house, which was my dad's house, until he decided to give ownership to me when they moved. He passed away 10 months ago, and with the economy my mom couldn't stay where they were living before. We are still trying to work out where she can live long term. I heard my mom get into an argument with my wife because she was trying to redecorate the nursery against Kara's wishes. All I heard was my mom telling her she's not the lady of the house just because her fake victim sob story worked on me. She looked flustered when I demanded her to tell me what that meant. And basically she held on to that same belief, but she was willing to put up with my choices on who I marry so she doesn't lose me. Everything she had to say infuriated me. And then seeing how upset Kara was by everything, I called my brother to come pick my mom up because she can't stay here right now. My mom wouldn't stop crying to not do this to her just for being honest. She's still at my brother's, but they keep trying to talk me to let her come back because this was my dad's house and of course she wants to feel closer to him. But after asking Kara if this is the first time she's said anything, she revealed my mom has told her numerous times what she thinks of her and kept it from me because she knew it would hurt our relationship. For that reason I haven't let my mom come back. It's hard because I know what this house means to her and that she's still sad about my dad but also can't forgive her upsetting my wife. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your mom isn't the lady of the house just because she was married to your dad at one point in time. What she said to your wife is unconscionable and extremely disrespectful. She, your mom, doesn't get to try and guilt trip you just because she got caught red-handed in mistreating your pregnant wife. Am I the a-hole for getting mad at my wife's gender reveal prank and ruining the party? My wife is currently pregnant and we are the proud parents of a 2-year-old girl. To be completely honest, this is an accidental pregnancy. I love being a dad, but our marriage hasn't been good for a while. So we didn't mean to bring another child into it. We had a small gender reveal party at our house. There was a small cannon which was going to shoot out blue or pink powder. When my wife took the thing to aim it, she shot the powder all over me on purpose. I was pissed and just turned to glare at her. She immediately looked uncomfortable and tried to laugh. Everyone seemed put off by me not laughing and a couple people told me to lighten up. I still didn't laugh and just stood there deadpan. I could see my wife getting more and more uncomfortable. When we were away from the crowd I asked why the frick she would do that and she got defensive and said it was a prank and she thought it would be funny. I told her she knows I don't like idiotic pranks and it wasn't. She demanded to know how I could just stand there like that and humiliate her and I replied that I really don't care if she was humiliated, because she chose to behave like that. She began to cry and said she wants to be in a relationship where they can play pranks and it wasn't a big deal. I've gotten a lot of shit from a few family members, especially her dad, about how I overreacted and made the party uncomfortable. Everyone sucks here for having a gender reveal party. Am I the a-hole for brushing my hair in spite of my grandma? Sorry if the title might be confusing. Anywho, context, I, 18 female, have kind of curly hair? It's like halfway I guess. The bottom curls a lot but near my scalp it doesn't curl nearly as much. Because of my curls, if I brush my hair it turns into a giant puffy lion's mane basically. It's all frizzy and static and just looks bad. However, I didn't really discover this until I was about 14. My hair was wild growing up. Well, growing up my grandma always made a fuss over my hair. No matter what you did, it'd be frizzy when dry. So every time I was at her house she'd have me brush my hair because she never believed that I had already brushed it. I hope you can see where this is going. Some additional context, I haven't seen my grandma in a few years due to going to a boarding school in a different country. I stayed there for about 2 years, but on breaks I'd only see my parents and friends, not my grandparents. When I returned home for good my grandparents moved away and I didn't get the chance to see them due to COVID. Well, I finally got the chance to see my grandparents again, and we went to their house for the weekend. With the way my hair is now, it's a bit frizzy as it's drying, but when it's completely dry the frizz becomes a lot less noticeable due to the curls. I also finger brushed to minimize the frizz. My grandma saw me while my hair was drying and told me to go brush my damn hair and that by this age I should already know how to brush my hair. I told her that brushing my hair so much is what made my hair so frizzy. So I refused. She told me that was bullshit, and that I'd better brush it before our special brunch. I just ignored her for the most part, and went into the guest room to do homework. That was until our special brunch, when I came out of the room to leave. My grandma saw me and my curls and said, "Look at how much better your hair looks when it's brushed." I told you so. I was literally dumbfounded. Did she seriously think my hair was brushed? LMFAO. I told her it wasn't brushed and she didn't believe me, so I went and got a brush, walked up to her, and brushed my hair. Wouldn't you know it, it was a freaking disaster. The look on her face was priceless. Lamau. She got all angry at me saying that I just ruined her family photos, guess that's why the brunch was so special, and that I needed to fix my hair. I told her there was nothing I could do now, and she was the one who told me to brush my hair anyway. My mom said I was an asshole for this but my dad said that it was hilarious, away from my mom of course. Though, I do kinda see why I'm an asshole, because she paid for a professional photographer, which I didn't know until she told me after the fact lol. And she already told me my hair looked good and I ruined it on purpose to spite her. So, yeah, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Anyone with any shade of curly hair knows if you brush the curl, you're getting Diana Ross hair. You tried to tell her. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife to have realistic expectations? Throwaway and on the mobile app. My wife and I, 30 female and 34 male, just had this argument and I want the internet's opinion on if she's setting her sights too high or not. For the past few months, my wife has gotten really into Chinese TV dramas. She started one show with a friend around Christmas, but she kept going and I'd say she's watched at least 6 or 7 decently long series since then and is showing no sign of slowing down. I have to admit I was already annoyed with this before we had this argument. She didn't used to be really into many shows and a lot of times she was happy to watch whatever and knit at the same time. She said she liked feeling like she was getting stuff done. But since she watches the Chinese shows with English subtitles, she doesn't do nearly as much knitting, so it feels like she's abandoned a lot of her projects. For example, she usually knits my mom something for her birthday in March like a hat or a scarf, but she didn't and I could see my mom was disappointed. So because of this, when my wife told me yesterday that she wants to start learning Chinese so that she can watch more shows and get more immersed in that culture and stuff, I got really irritated. I told her that Chinese is an incredibly difficult language to learn and since she's an adult, there's no way she'll ever become fluent. She'd just be wasting her time without a hope of actually getting proficient in a language that she would only use in watching TV. I told her it seemed like an unrealistic goal and a waste of time and money. She called me a jerk, told me to F off, and didn't give any sort of counter-argument. Looking back, I think I spoke sharply but I think deep down she must also realize that it's a stupid idea but she doesn't want to admit it. I should also say that my wife only speaks English, so she doesn't even have any kind of foundation for learning a foreign language, much less one as notoriously difficult as Chinese. Am I the a-hole for wanting her to have realistic expectations for herself? You are the a-hole bro. What realistic expectations? Let your wife be happy goddamn. It's not like she wants to go to space, she wants to learn another language. Let her watch her shows, she's not hurting you. Let her learn a language, it's not hurting you. She doesn't need to be a slave to knitting a thing for your mom every year. Op added the following comment. Edit, stop crapping on my mom. Of course she was disappointed. My wife has always given her something handmade on her birthday. Wouldn't you be disappointed if you suddenly stopped getting thoughtful gifts? Also, TV watching is not a hobby, it's a passive activity. Some of y'all seriously need a life if you consider TV watching a hobby. What do you think? Comment below.